Hey everybody, it's Friday. That means it's time for another question and another answer with Ask Octopus. Today we're ignoring errors. The question is, how do I ignore messages written to standard error? Some tools write informational logs to standard error, and those will show up as errors in your Octopus task log. If the tool doesn't actually return an error code, the task will still succeed, but your log will be a little bit messy. So the question really is, how can you clean that up to not show them as errors or warnings within Octopus itself? Let's take a look at some service messages you can use to redirect these. So here's an example of exactly this scenario. In my deploy to Firebase step template, I have an option to print the Firebase command being run for debugging purposes, and Bash writes that to standard error. So these are showing up in my task log as errors, even though it doesn't fail the step because the status code doesn't change or there's no error code being set. But it is kind of unsightly, and we'd rather them not show up as errors in the logs. We can do this by using one of two service messages in our deployment task. So let's switch to that. So inside the script for my deploy to Firebase step, you can see I've got on lines 21 and 31 two echo commands, and I'm writing this service message. The first one is writing ## octopus standard error progress, and the second one is setting it back to default. What the progress message does is tell Octopus to redirect standard error to the verbose logs instead of showing them as errors. There's also an option instead of progress. If you put in ignore, they won't be written at all. They'll just not show up, which would kind of defeat the purpose for what I'm doing. So that's why I'm using progress. So they'll show up as verbose instead of errors. And then at the end, I'm setting it back to default. So standard error will go back to being written as errors. So we can look at a task log from after this change to see the difference. Here's a task log from after the update. You can see that the two messages that were errors before are now verbose. That's how you can ignore or redirect messages written to standard error during your deployment process. Check the details below for more information. Do you have a question about how to use Octopus? Email advice@octopus.com and somebody from our team will get you an answer. You might even see it on a future episode. Thanks for watching and happy deployments.